Welcome to another video from Dr. Lock. You might remember about a month or two ago I made a key for a Jeep Wrangler JK, and it was about a 2010 model. But basically a couple of weeks later I get the call back and the customer's lost the key again. So unfortunately it's time to go back and help him out again. This time I've decided to look after him because he actually has the key blade and he just basically needs it reprogrammed in. So the customer asked how much, and I thought, well, since it's local and since I've worked for him before, I'll do it for $120, just program in his key that he has. Now he's assured me that the key is going to work, so let's see how that goes. Okay, so to start off with, I was asked to come back and reprogram in the key for the same car I'd programmed in previously before because the client had lost the key, which was no big deal. He tells me he's bought another key from eBay, which is a red flag in itself, and then all I need to do is program it because he's already had it cut locally. So I thought to myself, okay, if he's got the right key and everything's right, then it should just be a simple matter of pushing buttons. So I've given him the good price of $120. Basically our service call is $88, and as we all know, it costs $50 just to program in, just to plug in the Smart Pro. So if I have to use a Smart Pro, I'm not going to be making any money. So I start off using the M8, and I think, okay, I've got plenty of tokens left on it. I'm going to try and use the M8 here and just program this key in. So we go through programming it in, and the key programs in okay, so there's no problems there, but the problem is I can't seem to program in the remote control. So then I try the Lonsdor, which I programmed it with last time, and once again I can program it in, but I can't program in the remote control. So then I thought, well, it's time to bring out the Smart Pro. So I bring out the Smart Pro, I can connect to it, and it does have a remote control button, but I can't seem to program in the remote control. It will allow me to erase the keys and will allow me to reprogram the keys, but I really don't want to do that on the Smart Pro because it's going to cost me extra tokens. So I do go through and clear all the fault codes, with which I find a few, and I was able to clear them out with the Smart Pro. So then I try one more time. I try with the CK100, which is like the SBB copy, and on that I wasn't able to find anything. Basically all the year models stopped until about 2008. So I'm pretty much out of luck at this stage. Whether or not there's some onboard manual procedure to do this, it is possible, but I couldn't find it in time while I was there. Later on I did find that the onboard manual procedure you can do if you have two already registered keys. You can put the car into programming mode, but unfortunately we didn't have two registered keys, and also I don't think that would have worked. So the customer basically had purchased their own key from eBay. Now I reference this to kind of like airplanes taking off down the end of the runway. They get to that point where they're past the point of no return. They can't turn back. And when customers purchase their own keys, they do all their research and then they purchase it, they wait, it gets sent, then they get it to the key cutter, and then they get somebody out to program it in, trying to save a few dollars. But the problem is that they've gone past that point of no return. They're basically throwing good money out for bad because it was a bad decision from the start. If you've purchased the wrong one, they might have purchased the right one. It might work, but there's always that chance that it doesn't work. And to be honest with you, I know better, and it was a red flag. I shouldn't have taken on the job. But the way the customer worded it kind of tricked me into it. First of all, they asked, oh, can you just program this key in? I give them a price, it's all good. Next conversation we have, oh, it's a remote one, can you make that work as well? And I thought to myself, okay, look, if it's just pushing a few buttons, it'll either be a little bit extra, push an extra few buttons, or it'll actually program in at the same time. So I thought to myself, okay, that's fine. If you've got the right key, it's going to be the same procedure, so it's not an issue. But the truth is, I know better, because whenever a customer purchases a key, they might put time investment into getting that key delivered and to getting it cut and all this, but the problem is it might not be the right key. There are so many factors with these keys, especially when you've got cars that are made overseas, and made in different regions. Different cars have different BCMs, different computers, different immobilizer systems. Even though they're the same car, same year model, same make and model, they actually can be different when you're talking about different regions. Not only that, the frequencies of the remote controls are different, and sometimes they can use different chip IDs as well. So there is a difference. So if you were to start purchasing, this is I think an American car, so if you were to start purchasing keys from America for this particular vehicle, they're most likely not going to work on our Australian delivered versions. And this is pretty much what's happened. The key programmed in quite nicely with no troubles whatsoever. I went through a few different menus actually trying to see that if I could program in the remote under a different system. It programmed in, I believe, under system 2 or system 3, and that was easy enough to find. But unfortunately, the remote control, when I tried to program it in under all different types of systems, it just wouldn't work. No matter what button I pushed, it was not a possibility to actually get this remote control to work with this vehicle. Although I was able to get the immobilizer to work, I wasn't able to get the remote control to work. So I spoke to another locksmith. He says, yeah, it's got to be the wrong frequency. And I spoke to another locksmith, phone a friend, using up all my lifelines, and he says, yeah, you've got a few options here. You can go get an original remote. Something like that will cost you about $500 from the dealer. And I thought, oh geez, that's a bit much. And then the other option was, if you are to buy an aftermarket one, you actually have to find the one that's compatible, the right one. And the right one that's compatible with this particular car, from what he was telling me, was PCF 7941. So he said, grab the reader, read the key, and then see where you are. So I wasn't able to do that because I had already left the job, but most likely I'm getting the feeling that it wasn't the actual right transponder. And after researching it, the actual transponder and the remote program in at the same time. So if you do have the correct one, the remote and the key will both be at the same time. It's not two separate procedures. Although on the Lawn Store it was offering it as two separate procedures, and on the Smart Pro it wasn't offering the remote programming feature. It was just the same procedure. So it seems like I've been dudded by the customer giving me a wrong key, but on the upside, the key still works and starts the car, because the actual transponder, which was on the circuit board, was still able to be programmed into the immobilizer system, just not the remote control system. So anyway, it comes time to paying, and I've done him a good price, a lot cheaper than I normally would, and I'm basically making after service call just goes to pay the vehicle to get there. So basically, there's not much in this job. There's probably about $40, if that. So I've ended up spending about 40 minutes trying to try every different system, try 3 or 4 different tools, trying to get this remote control to take to the car. Not knowing that it, I could have done my research. I could have plugged in and read the chip straight away, and done all this research. But I thought the easiest way, just plug in and see if it works. But anyway, it took about 40 minutes, and of course the car was completely wet because it had been raining heavily, and they've obviously been forward driving out in the rain and things along those lines, so it just makes it a little bit harder. So I call him and I tell him that his key's working, but the remote control's not. And at which stage he attempts to bargain, seems to want to pay me less now, even though I'm doing him a good price to just program in the key, and seems to want to pay me less. And I had to remind the client that I'd actually offered to do this at a discount price of $120, and that was to program in a key. And it was only after we agreed on the price that he then added that he wants the remote control programmed in as well. At which stage I told him, look, if it's possible to be done, I'll do it at the same time, no troubles, as long as you've got the right make and model remote. Which he assured me. Oh, the promises. Oh, yes, it's right. Oh, yes, this. Yes, it's perfect. This, that, and the other. It wasn't. The remote control was absolutely wrong, and there's no way it could have been programmed into the car. I also found the website that he bought it from off eBay, and it looks like an American version of the remote control. It mentions about programming it in via using two working keys to make the third one work, so you need 2 working keys. So I found that actual listing there, and it looks completely wrong. On saying that too, that was about, I think, $27 to $30 to purchase that key. And then I look a little bit deeper, and there's somebody in Australia offering the exact remote control that we need, and they're locksmiths who do this every day, and they have a guarantee that it's going to work for your particular model. And I looked at their one, it's like $46. So the moral of the story is, for $25 you get a dud, and for $46 you would have got the correct remote control. But when everybody's shopping on eBay, everybody's going for that last little cent to get the best value. And often when you're penny pinching right down to the last penny, you're going to end up with something that's not very good. So at $46 he would have ended up with a working key had he have picked the people from Australia who guarantee it's going to work, and also do this on a regular basis. They would have made sure that they send out the right key with the right chip in it that could have been programmed to our models. Instead he's gone for something a little bit cheaper, read the instructions, and all the instructions look good on eBay. So he's fallen into that false sense of security, and of course then he has to pay my fee to come out there to try and enroll a key that's not correct. So moral of the story is, customer might think it's right, but it's not. People buying keys off eBay, absolute red flag. Sometimes it's the transponder, sometimes it's the frequency, sometimes it's the key blade. Even though the key blades are all the same, sometimes there are differences and they don't work very well. So moral of the story is, yes, I knew better, but it was only close and local, and I thought I'd give it a go. And then after all of that, the customer's not feeling very happy because his remote control is not working and wants to, try and pay half the price, although I'm doing it for him for an extremely cheap price from the start. So I didn't make any promises. I said I'd try, but it seems a bit of an assumption on his behalf that his remote control is going to work. And I said to him if it was possible, I'd do it at the same time. So moral of the story is when programming in a customer's remote controls, if you're going to go to a job and they're supplying any parts, best to have your own parts which are guaranteed to work, otherwise you'll be doing 2 trips. Also, make sure you know which make and model and frequency of the aftermarket ones are actually going to work, and also make very clear that your fees are what they are, whether his keys work or not. I had another lady like that ask me if I could come out and do a job, and I said, if you've bought the right lock and it's ready to go, I'll do it. And then she says, what happens if I bought the wrong lock? Do I still have to pay? And I said, yes, you do. You have to pay a call-out fee plus any labour time that's incurred. And she wasn't very happy with that. But the truth of the story is that if we don't charge our service calls and if we don't charge for labour going out there, we'll be running around fixing people's, or looking at people's locks or keys and basically going broke. Because there's a lot of people out there when it comes to locksmithing and locks and keys who seem to think they know everything. And the truth is it's a very complex industry. So when people go on eBay and they read all this, oh, this works this and this works this, there's a lot of assumption. And it's only via trial and error and knowledge that a lot of us locksmiths are able to actually perform this job. And even being a locksmith, working on automotive key blanks and key blanks not working and different transponders and different keys and the smallest of problems to stop things from working can be extremely frustrating. So that's my rant for the day. And Jeep Wrangler, yes, I got the key to work, but I didn't get the remote control to work. And you get what you get and you don't get upset. So that's the customer was happy to pay in the end, but not without some sort of negotiation. So the Smart Pro would have done it, the M8 would have done it, the CK100 wouldn't have done it, and the Lonstore would have done it as well. Had it been the right remote, it would have been just been programming the key, and the remote should have started working as well. But unfortunately, not that good, not that lucky today. Leave your comments down below if you like the video, like, share and subscribe, and leave your comments down below if you've had any experience with these cars, or if there's something I've missed out or called wrong, or if you think it could have been another issue. Now, I did try a lot of the different menus there, which I didn't mention in the thing that I could do that, but it did say that if you select the wrong menu, it's going to come up with seed error, which it did many a times. So I'm guessing we were pretty much on the money on type 2 and type 3. So, okay, thanks for watching.